Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Chaos Central. We've had an exciting start to this podcast today. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And we would like to gratefully thank Zoom for that, and all their little AI additions that really need to stay in the back row where they belong until they're called upon. So today we're talking about anxiety, and this has been an illustrated version of anxiety. And if we've learned anything through this little exercise, it's that despite what you don't know, there's always something you do know. And remember the bubble exercise last week where we talked about loading emotion on top of the rational, oh heavens, we're running amok moments? All right. And how that pushes you in one direction and you're kind of along for the ride on a bobsled ride down a very steep slope. And if you can just go over to the bubbles on the left and the questions, what's the problem? What is feeding it? What is preventing it from being solved? What do you know that you're not thinking about? What help do you need? Either better information or some expertise, which some of you offered me. Thank you. And then you have a solution that isn't chaos central. Okay. So up to now, we've been talking about the fact that it's very unwise, unrealistic, really, to focus or aim on eliminating anxiety. All right. In day-to-day life, it's going to crop up, and trying to control it by eliminating it is not your best choice. Rather, all the experts that I've used and brought to these podcasts, as well as my 24 years experience as a clinical social worker, strongly suggest and heavily weight the fact that it is a wiser alternative that we know and accept that actually there will be anxious moments. All right. And this morning was perfect evidence of that. There will be more than anxious moments, there will be anxious, persisting situations that, even if they're not completely beyond our control, they certainly feel in the moment like they're completely beyond our control, and that they will. Count on it. They will occur. All right. You're not doomed, however. However, adapting our aim not to 100% eliminate and control and prevent, if we can shift, do a mind shift, all right, to lowering the suddenness, like when they occur, if you can ramp, once you observe what the problem is, if you can ramp it down a little and just contain all of those, that hormonal bath that was running through me like a runaway horse a little while ago, and will run through you when you have your moments, when you can observe your feelings. And it sounds so clinical, but it isn't. It's in a moment. Okay, you know what? Head throbbing is really not going to help. Shortness of breath, because I really don't know what the next step here is, and it's not guaranteed to work. Could it get worse? Keeping that dialogue with yourself, just okay, that is a factor, but it's not the whole story. Because when it becomes the whole factor, when you just let it run wild, all right, you get feelings of dread. And do you know what dread starts? It starts that hormonal bath through your whole body. Now, your mind, your thinking, your ears, you can't hear, you can't focus as well, you're not breathing calmly to kind of bring yourself down to reality. All right. Whenever they happen, they you also need, which I hope I demonstrated a little bit, that it is possible to reflect on what we've already handled in the past, all right? Which may not be the entire solution for us in this anxious moment, but it sure in heaven's going to be part of it. It's going to help us get in a mindset, partly anyway. Okay, there are things you know that you're not using. What is it? Calm down. What is it you're not using that you already know and you know you can do? So you can credit yourself as capable of finding that last piece. All right. And despite what may be ahead, and there was no guarantee, I might have been talking to a black screen this morning with a very echoey sound. We can be a whole lot healthier and a whole lot happier, even if it does happen. That we need to learn and manage ourselves better. Right? One of the best ways. Now, this week we're going to talk a little bit about strategies. One of the best ways that we can do that is knowing what we as unique individuals. There were lots of people out here, people, whoever listens to this later. There was 40, 42 people out there, some of whom had a lot more expertise and were kind enough to very softly offer it. All right, there's always somebody who can help you find that missing piece. So we can do the more knowing thing if we credit as unique individuals what we can value about our own knowledge and skills, and we're not too proud to ask of the people present, is there anybody who knows more about this than I know who can offer me some advice? Okay. Now, I think I also demonstrated unwittingly that knowing what matters the most to you really brings your goal into stark focus. All right. And today, what mattered the most to me was we weren't giving up. This podcast was going to happen with or without visuals. If it had to happen with wah, 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 wah kind of sound, it was going to happen with wah, 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 wah kind of sound. All right. And that is a tremendous, as previously demonstrated, um, a tremendous grounding aid for each and every one of us. Because you will be in my position at some point, today, tomorrow, or whatever. It will raise anxiety. You don't have to be superwoman or superman to manage it. You already have survived things probably as bad, if not worse. And if you can just hold on to the belief in yourself, even though you don't have the missing piece or pieces, you just hold on to yourself as a credible human being who, alone or with a little bit of help, can pull this, whatever it is, out of the fire. And that will be a tremendous grounding aid, right? And when we have anxiety looming at us or asking to be invited to the party, we need that grounding piece for ourselves. That part that doesn't go to what I don't know, what isn't working. Do you see the difference? I want you to test that out the next time you have. Now, we're not talking the house is on fire anxiety here. We're talking something that is just part of life, really annoying, is going to disrupt. So it's important. I want you to try that exercise. Where can I get the missing piece, better information? Where can I get that specific to what this thing that's screaming at me in the form of anxiety, all right, is present? All right. We need it even more at that time. Now, When we're discussing being ruptured by anxiety and disoriented by events around us, because those things have triggered an anxious response, going back to what I just said a moment ago, we really need to go to the place in ourself that speaks to our personal unique values. And my values today were we will overcome. All right. One way or the other, it may not be the best podcast that has ever happened on this line. All right, but it's going to happen one way or the other. So, what is your basic fundamental value with respect to that thing that is starting to present itself as an anxious experience? What are your values? Because you will then have a roadmap. Without it, you won't have a roadmap. And even if you have some form of a plan, it is far stronger and you will overcome better, faster, and more if it's tied to your values. All right. Something about the experience touches something in you that pokes at a value of yours. Those values will do something that is really, really even more important. And that is it will help us, it will help you to just sit through whatever pain, whatever insecurity, whatever anxiety, whatever you fill in the blank. All right. It'll help you to just sit with it through the process. And that will be, in some situations, just run of the mill anxiety, like it was this morning. It might be fear, though. And there were moments there, I have to tell you. I have no idea what's going on here. I've done this for what, for 5 years, every week practically. And now I can't pull it out of the hat. Was sort of, that committee members and I thought, be quiet. We don't need you. We need the guy who knows what he's doing here. And that at this moment is not 100% me. And I accept it. And that was a moment of disquiet until one or two or three people who were watching this play out, and that will happen for you too. That's not unique to me, but you need to be open to it. One of your values has to be I'm not perfect, and I have no problem not being perfect. It is not a reasonable expectation that everything I try or I take on, even if I've done it before a lot, is going to be something that I can easily pull out of a hat. This failure does not reflect on me. All right? It doesn't reflect on me. Yeah, became very evident. She is not an internet specialist. She understands the system and how to make it work. What she doesn't have quite a handle on, and probably has no desire to have a handle on, because it's not the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last time it's happened. She is not taking responsibility for knowing what exactly to do when it runs amok. All right? You can't be good at everything. I choose what my values are and what I will take responsibility for. There will always be help if you and more better information if you're willing to humble yourself a little bit, all right? And don't make it about an inadequacy or a deficiency in you. That is fundamental to any level of survival. Because when we get that disquiet, and I certainly felt confusion, confusion is what's going to happen. Why? You have two parts of yourself and then the reality fighting for space here. Of course, that's going to be confusing. And it's going to play out in your mind. How many times did you hear me say, I have no idea why this isn't working and what's going on here? Because what I'm doing has worked before many, many, many times. clearly there's a piece that is missing and it's confusing, but it doesn't reflect on me. All right. So, all of those things, anxiety, fear, disquiet, confusion, can all happen at the same time. All right. In rapid sequence. And while they are happening in and around us, for sure you count on this. This is not an inadequacy of yours. They create an understandable lack of definition of what we need to do in order to overcome. And again, there, maybe if one of your values is persistence, all right, in the face of chaos, persistence. What are your values? Your value may not be persistence. Your value may be, I'm putting this down, I'm taking a break, I'm going back, I'm going to kind of get myself reset. What are your values? There's no nobility in persist. There is a necessity for persistence, but it doesn't have to be in the moment. Some people, like this Irish woman, will push and push and push and push and push through, all right, with the help of more informed people. And yeah, pull it out of the hat, and here we are. You may have a different value, and that's okay. Listen to your values. Because when you listen to your values in the face of something that's running amok and is giving you anxiety, we'll find ourselves. We'll find ourselves. We won't get lost in insecurity. You'll feel insecure because it's not working, but you aren't as a person inadequate or insecure. And whoever told you that things have to run perfectly to be good enough, they were the problem. Don't pick it up. One of the values or the characteristics, if you happen to be to any degree a perfectionist, all right, and a perfectionist will either not take responsibility at all. It's the machine. It's, well, part's the machine, but the other part, you're not working the machine. All right. Or it's all about them. All right. Where on that continuum are you? Where on that continuum are you? We're all somewhere on there. Okay. Because when we find ourselves feeling inadequate, what do we have? Everybody needs to feel adequately okay about themselves the vast majority of time. And when you don't give yourself that leeway and you're not fueled by the value you have, the values maybe that you have concerning whatever's causing the anxiety. And it's helpful if right now you think of a situation this last week that did cause you anxiety and you apply what I'm saying to that. All right. Anybody here, the best option you had was to find excuses, all right, for why what's happening now isn't fill in the blank a good time, isn't it? It's the machine, it's the this, it's the that, it was my mother, it was my father. When we start making excuses, we've gone, we're completely distracted from working it through or taking a break and coming back to it. Sooner or later, with whatever this anxiety situation was, we just have to start addressing first the anxiety better. All right. Did anybody here this week actually, when an anxious event happened, actually stop and take a step back and just sit with it and watch it and listen to it? If you didn't, I really strongly encourage you to start doing that this next week. Okay? If you just sit with it, think of the bubbles. All right. And I'm trying to think of a way to send you that visual so that you've got it. I will think of it. The only way I have right now, unless somebody out there knows a better way, is to use the get response list. But that means 1,200 people get it. I don't want 1,200 people to have it. So if anybody knows how to, other than me sit down for hours and go through the list, if there's a way, somebody please send me an email because I'd really like you guys to have that as a cheat sheet. And I'd really like you guys to have copies of my sorting cheat sheet, on the go cheat sheet. The question, should I bring this home? The question, should I let this go? All right. Okay. So you want to start addressing anxiety better? You have to really fight the urge. A, to feel incompetent, so threatened that you have to make excuses. Just try this week to sit with it. Watch how it plays out. It's going to play out through you. Watch what you're saying to yourself. All right. Watch what the auditory part of it is as well. Whose voice is on that tape? Who's saying what? And is that helping or not helping? And might you be better just to get up from that meeting and leave and ask, okay, what is the most important factor in this with respect to this anxious situation? What's the bottom line for me? And what is my value? And have I ever had to handle anything similar? What did I do and how well did that work? I know more now, and just sit with it. All right. Okay. So that will put us more in charge of the situation, ultimately, and of ourselves. And this whole event will just be passing us by like a movie playing out in front of us. The only thing is that movie playing out in front of us is playing out through us. All right. But if we do those 2 or 3 things that I've just belabored you with, what it does do is it doesn't allow the anxiety or the situation that's prompting the anxiety to claim you. You are remaining securely with an open mind, but securely and good enough, okay. It's not going to claim you. All right. It just becomes a passing moment. And you have just given yourself a whole lot better odds on handling that situation that is giving you anxiety with less cost and more success. Okay. And that can happen every single day if you practice it enough. Okay. Remember way, way back when I told you the story of the sunrise? You're going to get sick of this story. But the story of the sunrise that I had experienced, and it was at a moment that was a very low moment in my life and a very, 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 very demanding time. And I was personally, I admit it, not out of the game, but personally, internally, not well resourced. I was burning those energy and focus logs at way past my best before date pace. So, and I was doing that to handle the pressures that needed to be handled. Okay, and I'm driving to work, not in my job right now, a previous one, and I'm thinking, oh, and then I'd driven down this road, gosh, many times a day for probably 3, 4 years at that point. So I was well known to the territory. Okay. And I looked up, just happened to look off to the side. Oh, forgot something. At that moment, I had just said, if there's anybody up there on my side, Please, somebody send me something, anything to get me through this dreadful day. I had already decided it was going to be, well, it probably was going to be pretty much a dreadful day, but I decided well, we're just going to face it like it's a dreadful day. Okay. I have no idea why at that moment I suddenly looked over to the right and I saw, I couldn't even take it in, it just like this absolutely glorious sunrise. Yes, it was early morning. And I just went, wow. And all of a sudden, I was still in control enough, open enough that I realized, whoa. And I said, I don't know who's responsible up there, but thank you. I feel a little better. All right. And that was really a change moment. Sounds so stupid and so insignificant, but that really became a change moment in my life because I realized in a really instantaneous, impactful way, a very benign experience, that sunrise actually comes up every morning. Who knew? And who knew it had the power when you need it to be a real positive? All right. And at that moment, I learned that at the very same time, you can feel like your head spinning, your legs are coming out from under you, you still have to stay up on your pegs, and you still have to accomplish, you have to overcome and manage the stresses. At the very same time that negative is happening, a positive is happening at the very same time. What are you paying attention to? What are you getting distracted by? And I'm not saying try to become Pollyanna and, oh, we're going to put, it's going to suns and roses and it's all going to be. No, but there is always something positive. And it really, at that moment, I realized it's my responsibility. If I don't want to stay in funk, all right, it's my responsibility to accept that because it is true and to look for it too, to be aware of what the things are. All right. This isn't sort of, I don't want this to be unrealistic. That's there. You're going to have to deal with it in some way at some time, at some speed. But it doesn't have to be with every bit of yourself so that it overcomes you and brings you down. When you're aware of it, give yourself a level playing field. Where are the positives? And then I started to, I'm a little off course here on this material, but then I started to think, okay, you know what? Let's just see how true that is. And every day when I was doing something just randomly, I would ask myself, is there a negative? Yeah, there's a negative. There's always some negative, right? Where's the positive? And you know what? Sometimes it was walking up a pathway and one of the times it actually was, somebody had planted these little purple and white flowers and the scent of it was like, what's that? Well, when I was hunkering down on, oh, I gotta get that, I wasn't thinking about this. This too was like just a moment of, okay, this whole day doesn't have to be just because there's a in it. All right, give yourself some relief. That is also part of the day and part of the world, part you live in, and part of the gift that helps you kind of, so that you can have enough respect for yourself, and enough confidence that even though things seem to be running amok, guess what? It's going to end, it's probably not going to end in disaster. All right, so don't catastrophize. It's going to end up good enough if you stay in the game. You just have to stay in the game. You don't have to win every round. Okay? The negatives will be cast in front of us. Your job is to make yourself aware enough to look for the positives that can energize you. Because those positives at the same time, it's not just the smell of pretty flowers. In a kind of a way, it translates inside you as reassurance that if you don't give up and you don't have to escape, you're going to manage. And you will learn from it. You will learn what not to do the next time or what helps while you have to get through something that is anxiety producing. All right. It does give us an escape, however, the positive of that negative pressure. All right. Now, I want to remind you of that now because life is going to keep handing every one of us the mix of challenges that may cause some degree of anxiety. All right. May even be a little bit persistent because they don't solve quickly and easily. But at the same time, it is going to provide you with, and you need to stay in the game enough based in your values and what those values tell you about your self-worth. Sometimes all we have is when everything is going to you know what in a handbasket, all right? Sometimes all we have in the confusion of that is I'm not any better than anybody else, but I'm as good as anybody else. And I am worth more than what is happening right now. I am worth more than that. And if nobody else knows it at this moment or is aware of it, or they're not acting like that's true, I know it. I'm not worth more, but I am equal. I am worth respect. I am worth forgiveness if I do what I need to overcome whatever damage I might have caused. All right. And I am worthy of compassion because none of us is perfect. If I didn't deliberately set out to do something hurtful to myself or someone else, I am worthy of compassion. But I have to give it to myself first. Okay. Okay. Just listen to the anxiety and let it flow. It's not going to last forever if you don't hold on to it. And it's easier to do and more successful to do that knowing what you value the most, knowing and reminding yourself that you are, write this down every single day. You are a growing, learning, developing human being. And reminding yourself of that in the good times and the not so good times is just as important as each dichotomy, right? Why? Because it will help you focus on not being pulled in and swamped by the negative. How many people right here today feel so overwhelmed? This is for you. This is for you. Okay. Anxiety is also, this is going to sound a little bizarre, particularly if anxiety is something you live with fairly chronically. Anxiety as a warning notice can also help you. How does it help you? It helps you by cueing you to remain upright. So if you listen to it rather than try to control it, avoid it, pretend it's not there, all right, give in to it, no, just listen to it. Like you were listening to somebody making a counter argument that made absolutely no sense to you, you'd give them the time to do that, wouldn't you? Well, you better, because if they're bound and determined to do it, they're going to do it anyway. So you give them the time, give yourself the time. And at the same time, you are responding internally and you are remaining upright. And while you remain upright, you're in a far better position, people, to find your strengths and to remind yourself of your positives. Because in the universe, that's true. And in us, it's true too. They coexist in us every moment, every time frame. Has anybody here experienced the fact that pain often is given a tremendously high value, not necessarily positive, but really important, and therefore worth something? Somehow, if you suffer, it's worth more. You're going to suffer anyway. I don't think I'd give it a high value. And you're going to get a lot more suffering if somehow you think of it as some payment for something. All right? I'm inviting you to consider that something like pain doesn't necessarily have to make you capitulate. And that just means bring you to your knees. It doesn't have to. It isn't a given. And it doesn't have to disable you. It doesn't have to overwhelm you as often as it might feel it has. It doesn't have to. Literally, what we just went through, step by step by step, will keep you upright. The importance is that in that moment, you start to feel that you can be aware at the same time that what is ahead for you has supports. And you're not distracted and sucked into the fact that you will be defeated by this, that the negativity is something that is predetermining the outcome. It isn't. Have you ever been in a disagreement or an argument with somebody and it's just like completely unreasonable? Somebody really gets wired for sound. All right. What's the best thing you can do? Keep fighting back? Sometimes it's just stay in yourself, remind yourself of who you are, what you're worth, what you believe in, what your values are. This clearly is not congruent with any of that. And there's a disagreement. Doesn't feel good, but there's a disagreement. And your values are what they are. You're not saying you're right. You're just saying that's what you believe and that's what you stand for. And you just let it play out. Watch it go by. It will disappear a whole lot faster if you don't fight it. Just watch it, let it go, but stay in yourself. All right. What I've done with you today are really great usable steps for staying in yourself and remaining open to whatever it is you have learned by the experience or you need to learn. Put it on your to-do list. I know I'm going to get Hafsa to explain Zoom to me a whole lot better, and I may remember it the next time and I may not, since I choose that electronics are the reason I went into social work and I deal with people. But I always know there's going to be an expert. All right. They're probably going to be a fair bit younger than I am, but that's okay. Okay. Our education was gathered by different strategies and different means. And you know what? There's enough room for all of us. I'm good at some things and you're good at other things. And that's okay. All right. So I do have to run today on time because I have to do, I am booked till 6 o'clock tonight, like this. So I have to depart now. I have to wish you the best. I would love to get emails from you, elaine.birchall@hoarding.ca, about how this might have helped, how it could help, maybe additional pieces of it, because there are going to be more strategies that we're going to talk about. But some of them, and the bubbles, okay, that's one thing. If I was to gather all of the emails of the people who take the time to email me, all right, at elaine.birchall@hoarding.ca, then I could put that into a distribution list outside of GetResponse. 1,200 people wouldn't have to get. All right, I could have my own little distribution list. And when there are handouts and things like that, I would be able to forward them to all of you. That's a thought. I might not know electronics, but I have some skills and I'm happy. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Can you do it?